Granted. Thank you.
There you go.
Go for it.
Have a
Thanks,
great night.
Carl.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Okay, so everyone, welcome to Upper Darby Township Council Committee meeting, October 7th, 2020. Sorry, we're starting a tad bit late. We just had an executive session to talk about the hearing that we had at our previous council meeting for 359 Owen Avenue. So we just had an executive session on that.
And that's pending litigation. Yes.
Correct. Thank you. Pending lit. I knew that's what I was looking for, and it slipped my existence. So, okay. So at this point in time, and we have the mayor with a fabulous flag behind her. So if everyone can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone turn on your microphones. Everyone needs to turn on your microphones. All right. So.
Pledge allegiance to
To
the flag of the United States of America
And
and
to
to
the
the republic which it stands,
one
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
Okay, at this point in time, please remain standing. We're passing Councilwoman Blackwell. You need to unmute yourself and lead us in the moment of silence.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
There you go. Yep.
I would like to do a moment of silence for Laura's mom. Without Laura's mom, she wouldn't be here to do all the wonderful things that she do for our township.
Sally A. Allen.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Thank you.
That's for Sarah A. Allen.
Sally Allen. Say it. Yep. We got it. Thank you. And thank you everyone for your condolences and your words of kindness to me and my family. Greatly appreciated. And the Upper Darby Firefighters Union sent me the flowers that are behind me that were at the grave at the time of the service. So that was really awesome. So I greatly appreciate that. So at this point in time, we want to call the meeting to order. Can Councilwoman Billups give us a roll call?
Thank you. Councilman Tunis?
You need to unmute.
Here.
Councilwoman Billups is here. Councilman Silva?
Present.
Councilwoman Blackwell?
Here.
Councilman Gwynn?
Present.
Councilman Burke?
Present.
Councilman Siddiq?
Present.
Councilwoman Faralia?
Here.
Councilman Bonnet?
Here.
Councilman Wagner?
Here.
And Council President Wentz.
Here.
All present and accounted for.
Great, thank you. So at this point in time, we have rules of decorum. Upper Darby Township Council and residents all will maintain professional and respect for each other. Council encourages free speech. However, civility is required, which would prohibit threats, profanity, scandalous, impertinent, and redundant comment, or any comment the discernible purpose of which is to disrupt or prevent the conduct of the business of the meeting. At this point in time, can Ms. Dobbins come on to start us off with public comment?
Thank you, Councilwoman Wentz. The first one is Kristen Capara, 366 Upland Way. Dear council members, I would like to express my concerns regarding the unlawful closing of a state route without a highway occupancy permit issued by PennDOT. I was able to confirm with PennDOT that no HOP was sought nor granted for the closing of Lansdowne Avenue in both directions at State Road on Sunday and Monday evenings between 5 and 7 p.m. The state route connects businesses, a hospital, public transportation stations, residential areas, etc. The closing or blocking of such a roadway is unlawful. The mayor does not have the authority to issue such a closing. All
Okay.
PennDOT right-of-way and jurisdiction, and has put the motoring public, the first responders, and even any potential protesters at risk by authorizing the blocking of Lansdowne Avenue during peak travel times. This action poses a threat to public safety and, more alarmingly, sets a terrible precedent. Please provide a justification for such an action, and in the absence of the same, please assure me that this alarming disregard for both proper protocol and transportation policy will not be repeated. End of comment.
Okay. Sorry. Pause. Great. We will look into that. Can you give me her name again? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Kristen Capara.
Kristen. Thank you. Okay. All right. And also, Councilman Burke?
Thanks, President Wentz.
Mhm.
We get an answer from whether it's lawful or unlawful from council that we have here?
Before we do that, I mean, there were a number of misstatements of fact. So, I mean, I appreciate the concern, but the road closure wasn't authorized by the mayor. It was a decision made at the superintendent level. The nature of the protest or of a protest is that permitting isn't always a primary concern of the protest. So in the interest of public safety, the superintendent made the decision to protect the motorists and the protesters. So, I mean, whether it's lawful or unlawful should be addressed with it in mind that it was not something that was authorized either before, during, or after the fact by the mayor.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thanks, Vince, for that clarification. One more question. Will it happen again? Under public safety, will it happen again?
Oh, I think it's difficult to say. I mean, I think the discretion of the superintendent as the head of the department in a developing situation. I mean, it's not for me to say or for the mayor. I mean,
I understand the situation at hand
yeah.
Was taken for the safety of the community and everything. But now the second time around, maybe, jaywalking or impeding traffic ticket citation would be nice to give whoever's blocking these streets according to certain codes of traffic and pedestrians.
Understood. And that's definitely something that we can discuss with the superintendent about going forward.
I hope that answers the person's question. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Councilwoman Faralia, I see your hand, and then I see Councilman.
Yeah,
Go
well,
ahead.
I was sort of what Brian just said. I mean, the lie down and the stuff that they're doing, can't they just stand on the sidewalk? They shouldn't be putting other people in jeopardy and themselves by laying in the street neither.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far into this we want to get, but they're protesters. I mean, by definition, they're not necessarily following procedure or protocol.
Yeah, but don't we have the right to make them follow procedure and protocol? Or the superintendent does, the police department does?
Well,
This is America, man.
yeah.
Like, are we not in America? Like, listen to yourself. This is America. These people are protesting, right? The police are the officer, the superintendent are taking a position and looking out for everyone's safety. It's not our role to say, oh, somebody should get a ticket. That's what we have the police for. If they want to make that decision, still do that. They act independently, okay? So everyone has freedom. Different people protest in different ways, okay? You may not agree with it, but just trust that we have great law enforcement that understand what's happening nationally and trying to act the best way they can.
Thank you, Councilman Tunis. Councilman Wagner, I saw your hand. Councilman Gwynn, I see you. Councilman Wagner, go ahead. You need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. To follow up on what was just said, well, we are in America, listen to ourselves. The fact that you want to protest does not give you the right to block a public roadway and prevent other people from using that roadway, as is their right. That seems to have gotten lost in much of the conversation. I'd like to know simply a piece of information. How many so-called alleged protesters were involved in this protest?
I don't know.
Less than 10 at State Road.
That is what I had heard too, that it was literally less than 10 people. I think that the administration needs to have a serious conversation with the police department about whether fewer than 10 people under the guise of protesting should be permitted to shut down a major public thoroughfare in this township just because they want to.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And I think, as I already said, at council's request, I'm very happy to have that conversation with the superintendent. But what I would respond is, you have to ask yourself, let's say the number was 10, I don't know what it is. But if you arrested those 10 yesterday, how many do you suspect would be out in the intersection tomorrow?
And granted, all I'm asking for is a discussion between the administration and the police department about whether that was appropriate under those circumstances and how we might handle this in the future. That's all I'm suggesting and asking.
Can we agree to have a discussion so we can move on to the next question?
No, I'm not.
Wait. We do have I'm sorry. We do have councilman members that have raised their hands. Councilman Gwynn is next, and then Councilman Silva and Councilwoman Blackwell. So Councilman Gwynn.
This gets back to a question of judgment that the police superintendent had exercised. He was on the ground, tried to take hold of the situation to keep the individuals that were driving far enough away from the protesters for them to become a target, or for somebody else to become concerned, nervous as to what was happening and feel threatened. I have to let them have control of what they're doing, them meaning the police department, some control and latitude to do what they think is best at that time, provided the individuals do not exercise any activity that's going to result in other people getting hurt. I'll let it to their decision and the mayor's decision.
Thank you. Councilman Silva, you need to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I don't know if it's a point of order thing or not. At this point, I feel like council is not responding to public comment. It's sort of like we're giving it. I do believe this is a heavy topic that could be discussed at our next public safety meeting, and I would welcome as being a member of that. I mean, I'm not a chair of it, but I would certainly welcome other people's input from council as well. So when we have such a meeting, but I do feel like at this point we've exceeded like kind of responding to public comment. Thank you.
And Councilwoman Blackwell.
So Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg in the First Amendment, it states that it guarantees the right to assemble. We cannot take that away from the people.
Thank you. Okay, so at this point in time, Ms. Dobbins, can you please continue?
Next comment is John Vazari, 353 Kirks Lane, Drexel Hill. I'm writing to ask for answers as to why this administration would allow for a state highway to be blocked on 2 separate occasions, 9/20 and 9/21, without obtaining the necessary permits required. Under what authority did Mayor Keffer have to allow for the blocking of a state highway and to infringe on the right of the residents of this community to freely travel, not to mention blocking/impeding access to a Delaware County Memorial Hospital? Did you think about how allowing a state highway to be blocked could have impacted the mobility of someone who may have been trying to get a family member due to an emergency, only to find that their access was blocked, causing further delay? It appears that the mayor and the administration is placating to the UDJT organization and not taking into consideration how it will impact the residents of the community in which they serve as a privilege. It also appears that the mayor was fully aware that this was going to happen and failed to communicate to the residents in advance of the upcoming road closure. Again, this is another example of the lack of transparency that this administration campaigned on during the election. This is not the first time that major travel routes within the township have been blocked by this organization. Twice, 69th and Market Street was blocked so this group could lie in the middle of the intersection, again blocking the movement of township residents and other travelers. I have no issue with any group or person's right to peacefully protest for their cause, providing they do not infringe on another person's right to free movement, especially when the required permit to do so was not obtained. Mayor Keffer, you should have instructed UDPD to warn these protesters that if they fail to remove themselves from the street, they will be issued citations and/or physically removed, instead of instructing them to aid in blocking access to the road as a means of protection. Sincerely, John Vazari. End of comment.
Okay, well, we've already had a lengthy discussion on it, and I believe that the Public Safety Committee will talk about it further, so we can move on. Thank you.
John and Sadie Clark, 75 Houston Road. As you know, the Upper Darby Trunk or Treat 2020 event is scheduled to take place Halloween, Saturday, October 31st, 2020. Our health plan has been approved and we received all appropriate permits and permissions for this event. This is an all-inclusive community event being organized by members of several groups and organizations within the township. All township residents, school district residents, township business owners' families, and township first responders' families are welcome to attend. The event is closed to all others due to COVID-19 restrictions. The event will take place at Arlington Cemetery with parking for those attending but not doing a trunk at Upper Darby High School. The gates open at 4 p.m. Strictly for families with children ages 6 and under, families with children with special needs, and families with children with compromised health that wish to attend. The gates open at 6 p.m. for all. The entrance will close between 8 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. and the event ends at 9 p.m. All guests have been requested to wear masks. Our distancing plans exceed current guidelines. We will have hand sanitizer stations. There will be strictly enforced one-directional travel and several other safety measures in place to make this event safe for all. There will also be best truck prizes, some food and beverages, restrooms available, and more. We ask that the Township Administration and Council promote this event, if possible, on the Township website and social media pages. We've included the link to the event as well as both PDFs and images of the flyers. Thank you. End of comment.
Thank you. Yeah, I see your flyer. I think I've already shared it on ours, but I'll make sure that it's shared later. Allison, Ms. Dobbins, are there any more?
Peter F. Kane, 8003 Arlington Avenue, Upper Darby, PA. Dear Mayor and Upper Darby Council members, I am sending you this email concerning our police and fire departments in Upper Darby Township. They are the utmost essential services in a population of 83,000, and our township would not survive without them. Other issues are about the sanitation and highway departments. This past summer, people complained about trash piling up in our streets and sidewalks in the month of August. Every year, a set of township streets are repaved. Streets were not repaved during the summer, and people are complaining. What are plans for the township budget pertaining to our police, fire, sanitation, and highway departments? Sincerely, Peter F. Kane. End of comment, and that concludes all public comment for this evening.
Great, thank you. As far as the budget concerns, they will be addressed in the near future. So, okay, great. So going back to our agenda, now that public comment has concluded, next up, if we can get a reading on resolution number 45-20 by Solicitor Richardson.
President Wentz, thank you. Just for clarity, this is the 42-20, the parking meeting ordinance? Or
No, it's 45. It's the appointments for the library board.
No problem. Thank you.
Yep.
This is the resolution of Upper Darby Township, Delaware County, confirming and appointing members to the Upper Darby Township and Sellers Memorial Free Public Library, repealing all inconsistent resolutions or parts thereof, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. The Upper Darby Township and Seller Memorial Free Library was established in 1930, and the library is governed by a 9-member board of trustees. Whereas council desires to ensure that all members of the library board are officially appointed and that their terms are specified in order to provide clarity and proper record-keeping protocol. Now therefore be it it is hereby resolved by the Upper Darby Township Council and is hereby adopted and resolved by the authority of the same as follows. Donna Gallo is appointed for a term to expire December 31st, 2020. Kate Sweeney Smith, term expires in December 31st, 2020. Cynthia Wilson's term expires December 31st, 2021. There's another term that is open for December 31st, 2021. Bart Everts, Abby Lane, Lisa Lugoriato, Lisa Standard, and Wilson Sellers, all terms expire in December 31st, 2022. There's a repealer clause, severability, and the effective date is immediate upon signing. So ends the reading.
Great. And just as a clarification, everyone is currently on the board except for Bart Everts and Wilson Sellers. They're the ones that are newly being appointed today. And we did not get a resume for Wilson Sellers. His role in the library board is that part of the agreement for the Sellers Library is that there would be at least one member of the family part of the library board itself. So we're in compliance with that. And that's the reason for their appointment and why we didn't get a resume. So there's two parts of this resolution. One, the committee part where we're discussing the resolution, and then we are actually voting on it tonight as well. Right. That was my understanding that we had to. So, okay. So are there any questions or concerns on this resolution as written? Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have caught this and asked earlier. On Bart Everts and Wilson Sellers, and I might just have this incorrect. I thought the terms were 3 years on the library board. So should they be 2023?
Yes. Yes.
I'm sorry. That's my mistake. I should have caught that earlier.
Yes, they should be.
Yeah.
Good catch. That's why we do this part in committee, so we can make those corrections.
No, I just feel bad because I missed it earlier.
Yep, that's okay. Any other questions or concerns on this resolution? Are you? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Is everyone cool with moving forward to, all right, well, I'm not seeing any. So Councilman Silva? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to say I've known Mr. Everts for a long time, and I think will be an excellent addition to the board. I don't know Mr. Sellers, but I understand the arrangement with the Sellers family. So, but yeah, I think Mr. Everts will be an excellent addition to the library board.
Yes, I agree. He is actually a librarian at Rutgers University and is a great resource on everything. So, yeah. Councilman Gwynn, were you raising your hand or you good?
Just going to make a motion.
Okay, so can we, so you're making the motion to approve resolution 45-20 with the adjustments of the expiration date for Bart Everts and Wilson Sellers being 2023.
And I second.
Okay, so we have Bob and Blackwell. Great. Are there any questions or concerns on this resolution by any council members? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of resolution 45-20, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say your name. Abstain? Okay, hearing none, it's all in favor.
And as
Thank
a
you.
council president, if I could just really quickly,
Sure.
Thank you. I've had the opportunity to have a couple conversations with Wilson Sellers. He's really a great young man. And he's very excited to continue his family's legacy in Upper Darby Township. It's a responsibility that he, takes very seriously for, kind of carrying on, again, the next generation of his family. So I'm very optimistic that he wants to, be engaged and make a real meaningful impact at the library. And so I just think it's a very cool thing to have an active member of the Sellers family, back on the board.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Great, okay, so next up.
Laura, can I just say about Bart?
Well, no, technically, we've already passed the motion.
Okay, all right, let's go. It's
We were
okay.
supposed to do that earlier.
All right.
So at this point in time, it goes back to Mayor Keffer, because this is technically her time, so. go
Okay.
ahead, Mayor,
Your
Mayor.
mic.
you need to unmute yourself. Still need to unmute yourself.
Yes.
There you go, all right, we got you.
Okay, thank you, Council President Wentz. Tonight I have two presentations. The first is for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This evening, the Domestic Abuse Project held a vigil outside the Township building. We've been hanging their banner on the top of our steps at the building as well. So myself and several other members of council were there, which was really nice. And I'll just read the proclamation. It's just important to take some time and just realize that some people are really going through a lot. This is such a big issue that October has been, Domestic Abuse Awareness Month since 1981. The vigil was organized by one of our department heads, Sakella Coles. She's also serves on the board of directors for the Domestic Abuse Project. I know it's a very important issue for her and something that she spends a lot of time and commits a lot of time to. So, whereas domestic violence impacts people of every age, gender, race, and economic status, as victims suffer at the hands of a spouse or partner, it affects their children, families, and entire communities. And whereas domestic violence includes behaviors that physically harm, cause fear, prevent a partner from doing what they wish, or force them to behave in ways they do not want, and can include physical and sexual violence, threats and intimidation, emotional abuse, and economic deprivation. Whereas since 1981, October has been commemorated as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month to educate communities, individuals, families about advocacy services and community resources that can help prevent and raise awareness of domestic violence. And whereas Upper Darby Township supports and works with Delaware County and its various departments, including the District Attorney's Office, Human Services, and the courts, which work to prevent domestic violence and assist abuse victims, as well as the county's work with various organizations and agencies, including the Domestic Abuse Project. And whereas the Domestic Abuse Project offers services including victim advocacy, child advocacy, shelter, crisis counseling, legal counseling, and representation during the PFA process. And it operates and manages the county's 24-hour crisis hotline, ensuring support for victims of domestic violence in Delaware County at all times. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Barbara Ann Keffer, Mayor of Upper Darby Township, along with Township Council, hereby declare October to be Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Upper Darby Township and urge all residents to commend the advocates, victim service providers, and organizations who work to bring hope and healing to survivors and victims. The second proclamation is for Fire Prevention Week. So this year's a little bit unusual. We're not going to be having, the fire prevention parade as we have many years in the past, but we still want to recognize what people can do in their own homes and businesses to help prevent fires, and it also this also recognizes the good work that our career and volunteer firefighters do for us 365 days a year. So here goes. Whereas the Township of Upper Darby is committed to ensuring safety and security of all those living in and visiting our township, and fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally. And homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And whereas home fires killed more than 2,630 people in the United States in 2017, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 357,000 home fires. And whereas cooking is the leading cause of home fires in the United States, where fire departments responded to more than 173,200 annually between 2013 and 2017, such that 2 of every 5 home fires start in the kitchen, with 31% of these fires resulting from unattended cooking, while more than half of the reported non-fatal home cooking fire injuries occurred when the victims tried to fight the fire themselves. And whereas children under 5 face a higher risk of non-fire burns associated with cooking than being burnt in a cooking fire. And whereas Upper Darby residents are encouraged to stay in the kitchen when frying food on the stovetop, keep a 3-foot kid-free zone around cooking areas, and keep anything that can catch fire away from stovetops. And whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half. And whereas Upper Darby first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas Upper Darby residents are responsive to public education measures and can take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2020 Fire Prevention Week theme, Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen, effectively serves to remind us to stay alert and use caution when cooking to reduce the risk of kitchen fires. Now, therefore, I, Barbara Ann Keffer, Mayor of Upper Darby Township, along with Township Council, do hereby proclaim October 4th through 10th, 2020 as Fire Prevention Week. And we urge all residents to check their kitchens for fire hazards and use safe cooking practices and support the many public safety activities and efforts of Upper Darby Fire and Emergency Services. So, thank you.
Thank you. Can you send those to us so that we can have them for the minutes for the next meeting?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Those are great. All right. So next up, we have your 2021 budget address.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a chance to send it to us?
I didn't yet. I'm going to send that along with the draft of the preliminary budget. You'll have it before the end, before the end of the night.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. 2020 has shaped up to be quite a year. The ripple effects of the COVID pandemic will likely be felt for years to come on our friends, families, and neighbors, in our personal lives, and on our local and national economies. I would like to thank everyone who has been and continues to practice social distancing and mask wearing as we head into the future. We are coming towards the end of the first year of my administration, which is a mix of longtime and new employees. And there has been a lot of good collaboration. Much of the year has been spent learning the lay of the land and then reacting to the global pandemic. On many fronts, we still push through towards the goals of reform of our local government and reinvestment in our community. Working with longtime employees, new department heads, and council, we have managed to update and clarify policies and fee schedules and to create systems that place continuity and accountability at the forefront. I would like to thank everyone who made these policies possible and who are currently implementing them. Here are some of the 2020 advances. I need a little water here. We updated the food establishment inspection fee schedule from its 1986 levels. We adopted the 2015 International Property Maintenance Code as recommended by the 2018 Comprehensive Plan. We also created a property maintenance ticketing system and a focus zone program. This is a two-pronged approach whereby private property and township infrastructure conditions are addressed in an organized manner. Our Public Works Department divided the township into 16 separate sections, and each month a different section becomes the focus. The ticketing system brings property owners sooner into compliance with our codes, and it also frees up our district courts. Street markings, street signs, fire zones, storm drains, all are among the infrastructure improvements we are looking to make on a consistent and organized basis. We created an abatement fee schedule to cover the cost of our employees and resources being used to do landscaping and debris removal at abandoned or vacant properties. Previously, these services were provided free of cost to property owners, often banks which held foreclosed mortgages. We adopted a sewer lateral inspection ordinance at the point of sale, which allows new property owners to know the condition of their sewer line, and also, in the long run, will save taxpayers money as the sewer lines get repaired, hopefully prior to an emergency, and less rainwater seeps into our sanitary sewer system, which gets metered and the cost shared among all property owners. This ordinance was recommended for the township to adopt and implement in a June 2013 sewage facilities plan update by the Delaware County Planning Department. The Parking Enforcement Department has been modernized to include a pay online system. And thanks to the jumpstart with the online payments begun by this department and the necessity COVID created with access to our building, many of our services, fees, and applications can now be accessed and paid for online. Our general street paving program has been revamped by ordinance to require utility companies to work together with the township to pave streets curb to curb after the utility work is complete. We are also focused on updating our intersections to current ADA compliance standards with the proper handicap ramps as we pave. For the first time, a fee-based comprehensive commercial fire code inspection program has been organized throughout most of this year by the fire department and will be up and running soon. Previously, any commercial fire code inspections which had been done were free of charge. What we learned as the year progressed is that we have an inherited structural deficit. It was this deficit spending that in 2019 drove the previous administration to take a $5 million short-term loan in order to carry us until the 2020 tax revenues began to arrive. Please be assured that my administration is doing our best to avoid a repeat of year-end borrowing, but I cannot make such a guarantee pending further review. In the context of budgeting for 2020, it's important to understand the challenges we are facing this year. In the context for budgeting for 2021, it's important to understand what's going on this year. As you will see in next week's budget presentation by our finance director, the 2020 budget was built around two significant structural deficiencies. First, certain revenue items were significantly inflated to imagine a $4.6 million that was never achievable. Second, though not immediately obvious in last year's presentation, the budget that was presented and approved nevertheless contained a $4.2 million deficit. Taken together, we are managing 2020 against an $8.8 million contemplated loss. Some of these problematic assumptions include missed revenue opportunities and excessive expenses. Although we are preparing a budget that contemplates holding all taxes and fees to their current levels, it's important to note that in the area of trash and recycling collection, we operate the division at a loss. Trash fees levied by the township do not reflect the true cost of our sanitation and recycling services. They do cover tipping fees for trash tonnage paid to the Delaware County Solid Waste Authority, the fees we pay to Waste Management for recycling, and most, but not all, of the salaries for our sanitation division. Sanitation expenses also include the trash pickups at all of the district schools and some private and parochial schools. Additional expenses not covered by the trash fees are the township healthcare and pension contributions, vehicle maintenance and fuel costs, and the cost of new trucks and equipment. Contaminated recycling fees continue to be high. We'd like to remind residents not to include pizza boxes with your recycling, and more importantly, do not put your recycling in plastic bags. It's important to remember that fees, be they for parking meters, building permits, trash and rubbish, they're not revenue generators. Municipalities are supposed to cover the cost of providing these fee-specific services. Costs of services include payroll, health insurance, pension costs, equipment, supplies, vehicles, maintenance, etc. The good news is that our new finance director is reviewing our system of internal controls. I'm getting towards the end here. Specifically in the areas of purchase authorization and the application of budgetary constraints, having made several initial findings. We have adopted a new budgeting model and philosophy that embraces the concepts of zero-based budgeting and activity-based costing, which we will hear about more next week. My administration has been able to close the gap over the last 8 months. COVID forced the cancellation and cutback of many programs and township events, and that's money that we did not spend. Our department heads have also worked very hard to lower costs in each of their departments. Our municipal, mercantile, and business privilege tax collections are up over budget. At our core, our township government is in the business of delivering excellent municipal services. That's the day-to-day expectation of what your tax dollars fund. The general fund budget is not much different this year than it has been in the recent past. It funds the general operations of our municipal government. Most of the previous programming is still included in the 2021 budget, most notably funding for our leisure services department, which includes the summer stage program and the tot and youth lots. And I'd like to take this opportunity to encourage everybody to watch our virtual International Fest at 7 o'clock tomorrow on our YouTube channel. So in order to meet current labor contractual obligations with our police, fire, and our 2 municipal unions, which guarantees wage increases from 3 to 3.8%, we are tightening our belts across all departments to give our residents and business owners the level of quality service they expect, with the goal of not raising municipal taxes. We do have some planned new expenses reflected in the budget. By March of 2021, our sanitation division must relocate from the current space off Lansdowne Avenue, which belongs to the Upper Darby School District. The school district has begun the land development process of renovating that property to house their administrative offices, which have been located in the Aronimink Elementary School for decades. Because of the court-mandated county tax reassessment, we should expect our tax bills to look differently this year. We expect the county to certify the new assessment values in November. At that point, we will be able to calculate the new millage rate. Please be assured that the reassessment is meant to be revenue neutral and that the current millage rate will not be used on your new assessment. In many ways, a budget reflects leadership priorities. And this budget reflects the opportunity to create a clear, accountable system where taxpayers, residents, and businesses alike can be confident that their money is spent in a way that corresponds to the actual costs of services and programs that serve our community. This budget provides the foundation from which we can reinvest and redevelop our township. My budget address and the preliminary budget draft will soon be sent to council, and both will be available on the township website. Next week, our finance director will give a detailed presentation of a line item budget. And we have 4 more public meetings and 2 hearings before Thanksgiving. And we look forward to questions from council and our taxpayers. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We look forward to getting the documentation, and I'm guessing next week we'll have a lot of conversation on it. So thank you. Okay, so up next is me, actually. I don't have a whole lot. I think the mayor covered a lot of excellent stuff tonight. I just want to say that on the domestic violence proclamation, just something that people should be aware of, that domestic violence increased immensely during COVID-19 shutdown because people were in a very stressful situation and had to shelter in place. So just something to be aware of, that it's something that is continually happening and it's a big concern. So please, know that it's COVID-19 made it worse. So yeah, so thank you for all the work that you're doing, Mayor Keffer, and for all of our employees for all that they do to keep us safe and so forth. So thank you. We're going to move on to committee reports. Public Safety Committee co-chairs Councilman Burke and Councilwoman Blackwell, members Councilman Silva and Councilman Tunis. We do have a resolution, so if Solicitor Richardson could give us a reading on Resolution 42-20.
Thank you, President. This is a Resolution 4220 is a parking meter ordinance, which is providing for a parking meter space reserved for use by handicapped persons designated as a handicap-only space. This change permits only those with handicap plates or a placard to use the meter space. There's a 1-hour grace period for those who legally use the spaces before any meter violation is issued. The location is going to be behind 20 South 69th Street, parking meter 102. So when's the reading of the resolution?
Great, thank you. This resolution is something that will be voted on October 14th. So this is committee council's opportunity to ask any questions or concerns on this resolution for committee purposes. So does council have any questions or concerns? Anyone? Councilman Tunis, go ahead. You need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, so this is the located right near, right behind the Department of Human Services county office. Am I correct on that?
I'm sorry, I'm still looking for my resolution. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I believe it is. And in that area, a lot of the residents that live, the building also houses some residents. A lot of them are senior citizens. A lot of people that utilize that office are sometimes disabled. So I'm the favorite and this is in my district. I just wanted to support that.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Anyone else? Okay. I'm not seeing anyone. Great. So Councilman Burke and Councilwoman Blackwell, are you guys cool with this moving forward to October 14th?
Yes,
Yes, Laura, that's fine.
Okay,
yes, President West.
thank you. Great. And then do you guys have anything else for your committee?
Sure, Laura. Just start off. I believe we all received an invitation today from the Highland Park Fire Company, all council. They would like to invite us October 17th at 10 a.m. to view their firehouse. If anybody can make it, that would be great. Let Laura know, and Jeff Bruce's cell phone number is at the end of the email. Last Saturday, the Public Safety Committee, along with the 2nd District Councilwoman Lisa, were invited to Seacane Firehouse. We had a coffee with the staff over there on the weekends, toured the firehouse, had some great conversation, and it was eye-opening of what our men and women do for the community. Danielle will give us, if she wants to give us a quick report on our visit there last Saturday, that would be great, Danielle. And thanks for everybody being there.
Okay, so members of the safety committee were working in action and met at the firehouse located at 1005 C. Kane Avenue in C. Kane, Pennsylvania. We met for an informative, casual meet and greet with the fire department. We were in compliance with the sunshine laws, and members of the council engaged with our Upper Darby community service personnel for a nonpartisan event that has never happened before. Fireman gave a brief, and the issues discussed involved that the firemen and the volunteers, they're working to get some issues resolved, because so the firemen had a combination office that has to coordinate efforts with other townships, which is good. We actually work with other townships to make people safe and to cover fire issues. So there appears not to be a standard procedure throughout the fire department, which they are working on, and we're in conjunction with that. And so the discussion really covered about different issues such as budget, operations, legal ramifications, and a volunteer and paid fire department's livelihood. So action items included fundraising, member inclusion, expansion, and retainment. So just to reiterate, those are the most three issues to take away from this, is that the fire department needs fundraising. We need to make sure that there's inclusion. We need to make sure that there's an expansion and retainment. Thank you.
Thank you. Just clarification in reference to the Sunshine Act that Councilwoman Blackwell referred to. It was informational. There was no decisions made by anyone in council. There was no, it was basically considered a training moment where we were being given information. No decisions were being made. Council members did ask questions about specific things to gain more information. I'm sorry that I did not get a chance to extend the invite to all of council. I didn't discover it until the night before or see the email until the next morning. So we made sure to adjust future invites to go see the firehouses to be extended to all of council. So that was a misstep on my part, but I just wanted to let you know that it wasn't, no one was meant to be slighted. It was just a miscommunication between us and the C. Kane Fire Company. So we're fixing it for the future so that all council members are invited to these, to the firehouses. We had talked about doing it with former Fire Chief Gove, and we just hadn't had a chance to work it out. So the Public Safety Committee took the lead on helping to make that happen. So Councilman Silva, you had your hand up.
I just wanted to reiterate about the sunshine law. We were there, basically, we asked some questions, but that was most of what council, we weren't really discussing anything. It was more of an information gathering. So yeah, that I just wanted to reiterate about the, we weren't there to discuss, we were there to basically learn.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilman Tunis.
Yeah, like everyone stated, it was a great it was good meet and greet. We learned a lot about the inner workings of the fire department. I got to learn a lot from one of my former classmates, Lieutenant Kyle Johnson. He did a great job in presenting some things and giving us some ideas. Something that they talked about that really stood out to me was just recruitment. So like if people are watching tonight and you got young men or a young woman in your family that you think would be great for a fire, to look in, to join the Upper Darby Fire Department, tell them to look into what it takes to become a firefighter. Because on a national level, there hasn't been a mainstream national appeal in recent times for firefighters. So I think it's It's great, and it's our role to encourage people to join the township in various roles. So if you are interested in being a firefighter or want to learn more about how it works in Upper Darby, just reach out, follow the various houses on Facebook, the Upper Darby Fire Department on Facebook, and just look out for various updates.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, continue, Councilman Burke.
Also, I received an email from Councilman Gwynn about Sellers Avenue. Over the next week, we'll meet about Sellers Avenue, and as we spoke earlier today, Public Safety will meet about the issue earlier. Maybe we can get a meeting with the mayor and CAO Vince Rangione, along with President Wentz, about the public comments earlier today. We can have Public Safety Committee along with Superintendent Bernhardt. We can set that up sometime next week and fit it in between the budget meetings. I know we're time strapped, but we'll see if we can figure it out.
Great, thank you. Is that it for your report?
Yes, does anybody from council have anything? Yeah,
Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you for expressing the idea of discussing this with the people at Sellers Avenue. They put up with a lot. It's a area that has a lot of traffic, and we need some guidance and understanding what will be capable of being enforced from the police department and what we can do to help the situation. Could also be that we can get some better lighting on the street to help them in the evening. Those are issues that have come up in course of conversation with several of the people, and I'd like to pursue it further with you, and I thank you. That's it.
Great, thank you. We also have Councilman Silva.
Yes, thank you, Council President Wentz. I just wanted to let the citizens know that there is also an upcoming civil service exam. The information on that is on the Upper Darby Police Department or udpd.org website, but there is a fitness exam coming up on the 24th of October, and there's also the actual exam itself on the 31st. But I wanted to let anyone who would be interested in joining the police department, they do an excellent job, and they do perform a very valuable service to the whole community. Anyone who would be interested in doing that, I encourage them to please take the exam.
And to go off of that, if you want to add diversity to our police force, then we need people of diversity to take these exams and apply. So, Councilwoman Fralia, I see your hand.
Yes, I had a couple things. One was that I wanted to ask Councilman Burke if there was any way he could get an engineer or somebody out to do an assessment on the 200 and 300 block of Gramercy and Westbrook Drive. It's now a two-sided traffic both ways and two-sided parking, to see if maybe we can get it one way, if it even would work, because you're coming off as a state highway on Bishop Avenue. There's been a lot of standoffs in the street where the police have been coming, 2 and 3 police cars, for neighbors fighting, people just using it as a cut through. It's getting bad. So if you can have that done, it would be greatly appreciated. And also, I did send an email out to Mr. Martin and Mr. Regione and the mayor and Councilman Burke about having the fire lanes repainted, because it's all worn off and people are actually parking in the fire lanes. They did come today to paint them, but unfortunately it couldn't be done because cars were parked in the fire zone. So.
Thank you. Thank you. In the future, can you CC me on those emails as well, so I know what's happening?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. And that's my UD Council Laura Wentz at rcn.com email address.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Councilwoman Blackwell, I do see.
Wait,
your-
I'm not done. I'm not done. I have
Sorry.
one other thing.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know if Brian's able to answer this, or if this is something that Mr. Regione has to answer or not, but I was wondering with the police department, do we have anybody, like, are we hiring right now? I know you're doing the test, but that's going to take time for them to all go through that, and you're probably looking at like next year for them to actually start. is there people that are now ready to go that we can hire? Because I know that they are short.
Vince, you take care of that?
Yeah, sure. So, the plan at the moment is to proceed with the testing and hire off of the new list, per the superintendent's recommendation. And that's part of the reason that we discussed at the previous meeting, the idea of, changing so that people are Act 120 certified so that they can get on the street, more quickly.
Okay.
Just to clarify on that, CAO Rangione, that when they take the test, I mean, it is just my understanding was that we're looking for people who already have Act 120 so that they could hit the streets right away, but then also looking for people who don't necessarily have that, who would need to go to the police academy so that we could, have things going at the same time. Is that true? Or are we only looking for people with Act 120?
121, Laura.
Sorry, 121. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I mean, maybe the solicitor could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we changed it to require the certification for this.
Act 120 beforehand, because in the times of COVID, training has become challenging at municipal police academies. And if you may remember, we added a sunset provision like a year from now, saying automatically the civil service rules go back to what they were before.
So I misunderstood, is what you're saying. I thought we were still looking for both. I thought it opened the door for us to be able to hire people with the Act 121 right away.
No, you can. You can hire people. And it's not 120. It's
121.
121.
No, it's actually 120. I'm Act 120 certified. I went to the municipal police
so it's
academy.
Act 120.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, we changed the rules during this period of time. Previously, the Upper Darby civil service rules, like many municipalities, are especially looking for a more diverse workforce, does not require Act 120 at the time of application. And the reason being is historically, people of color had not come to police departments with that certification. A lot of it was based on cost, because it costs $7,000, $8,000 to go to the Delaware County or Montgomery County Police Academy. So we, Superintendent Bernhardt, just because of COVID, came to council. You guys already approved it and had a rigorous debate on this, said that you now have to have Act 120 before you can apply to be an Upper Darby police officer. But that sunsets about a year from now. We put it to that. We only want it as a temporary measure, understanding that training requirements are difficult to go through the academy during COVID.
Okay, so I did obviously misunderstand that. Okay, thank you for that clarification. Councilman Faralia, did you have anything else? Okay.
No, I'm good.
Okay, Councilman Silva's hand is that from previous or?
No, that's now. I just have a question then. So we're someone who's not Act 120 or 121 certified.
120.
Like approaches to take the exam, then would they be able to take the exam and then be on like a list, or at this point?
No, to be eligible for the exam, to be eligible to be hired, they have to be Act 120.
Okay.
So they have to come in hand with the certificate from the police academy.
Gotcha. Okay. So at this exam, no one basically without that would be eligible to take.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what the superintendent requested under these emergency circumstances.
Okay.
And you approved.
Right. I just think I think I'd asked the question at the last council meeting where we were voting on it, and I basically misunderstood. I took it as you could do that. Even if you didn't have it, you could still take the test and be on a waiting list for those who didn't. But that was my misunderstanding. So thank you. And then Councilman Burke, I see your hand.
Yeah, I'm sure, in the next couple of months, hopefully, if we have a cure, that we'll be able to set a test sometime in the third quarter of next year for civil service tests. This was strictly to get the ball rolling. Also, to Vince and the mayor, I know Michael Lante's times are busy, but if we can take a look at that Gramercy, maybe drive out there, see what's going on 200, 300 block of Gramercy in the near future. Some kind of traffic study, or find out what's going on there so we don't have anybody punching anybody out, according to standoffs for the last couple of weeks.
Sure.
Thanks, Vince.
Yep.
Is there anything else for your report?
Concludes my report.
Councilwoman Blackwell, did you have something else for public safety?
I have one point to add, that on, there is construction on Lynn Boulevard, and I received a report that folks are going down Bayberry Lane. Bayberry Lane is a one-way drive, and they are anticipating a collision because folks are bearing off to get off of Lynn Boulevard at Township Line Road. And they're trying to get off of that road, but that's a one-way street. So we need to maybe have another sign or something telling the folks they can't go down that street because it's one way.
So you're saying they're going the wrong way down the one way?
Exactly.
They need to
Okay.
do not enter.
Excuse me?
It's a do not enter, right?
Right, it's a do not enter. So that's what's happening. We need something that says do not enter
It
to
should,
go down that street.
it should already be there.
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll absolutely look at it. In all these roadwork situations, there's an approved detour, right? And then it's sort of up to the motorist to follow the approved detour. But, with the understanding that people oftentimes don't follow the approved detour, it's very dangerous to go the wrong way down a one-way.
Right.
So given the information just presented by Councilwoman Blackwell, we'll absolutely take a look at it.
Thank you so much. I
no
appreciate
problem.
it. Thank you.
Councilman Burke?
As you brought that up, Vince, do we know the time frame on the completion of that project?
I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I don't know. I mean, I know it's a significant restoration, and it is a very commonly used street, so it's a frustrating one. But I can look it up and get back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else for public safety? Okay, seeing none. Okay, so next up we have the Finance and Appropriations Committee, Co-Chair Councilman Gwynn and Councilman Silva, members Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman Burke. We do have two resolutions to start off with, so if we can have Solicitor Richardson to give us a reading of resolution number 4320. And I believe that is the one that we just got an updated version just before we started this meeting. So it was emailed to council just before 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Councilor, President Wentz. This is a resolution authorizing the application to the 2020 Pico Green Region Open Space Program for the design of the Cardington Newtown Trail Project. This was a grant that was suggested by Michael Galante. Just as a background, the township developed a Nailers Run feasibility study in 2011, but did not cover the Cardington branch. So this particular branch connects Cobbs Creek and Forge to Refuge Trail. This particular grant is basically awarded by PICO, and it's all of their coverage area. And then this is a matching grant. So whereas the township has received and desires to apply for the PICO Green Region Open Space Program for a grant for the purpose of carrying out this project, whereas the township has received and understands the 2020 PICO Green Region Open Space Program guidelines, now therefore be it resolved by the Upper Darby Township Council hereby approves this project and authorizes applications to the PICO Green Region Open Space Program in the amount of $10,000. Further resolved that if the application is granted, the township commits to the expenditure of matching funds in the amount of $10,000 necessary for the project's success. There's a severability clause, inconsistency, severability clause. So ends the reading of the resolution.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions or concerns from council on resolution 4320? This one will be moved on, if everyone is cool with it, it will be moved to October 14th meeting for a vote. Any questions or concerns? Councilman Gwynn, you need to unmute your mic.
I would just like to state that I am very much in favor of this. We have several trails that need to be updated, and this is one of them. And this is a point to start. And we'll be able to use outside funds, PICO's funds, to help get this going.
Great, thank you. Councilman Silva?
Yeah, I'm also in support of this as well, for the reasons that my colleague just described.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Next up, so are you, Councilman Gwynn, is your committee good with moving this resolution to October 14th meeting?
Yes, Bob.
I am. Everybody else in agreement?
Yes, Bob.
Yes. Okay.
I am as well.
Michelle?
Oh, Danielle.
Sorry,
Danielle.
Danielle.
Yes, I'm in agreement.
Thank you. Okay, then I'd like to move it for the next meeting to be on the agenda.
Great, thank you. So next up, we have resolution 44-20. Solicitor Kilkenny, please give us a first reading, a reading of this resolution.
Sure. I'll be happy to. A resolution establishing escrow amounts for subdivision land development plans in Upper Darby, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, repealing all consistent resolutions or parts thereof, providing a severability clause, providing effective date. Whereas Section 503 of the MPC, Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, provides that a township may charge review fees, including reasonable and necessary charges by the municipality's professional consultants or engineer for review and report thereupon to the municipality. The township's professional consultants have advised the township of their fees to be charged to the township rendering services. Upper Darby Council has deemed the professional fees to be reasonable and commiserate with similar service provided in the community, whereas township staff establishes the township council establish subdivision and land development fees. Applicants pay all costs authorized by provisions of the MPC for such applications to defray such costs from the township taxpayers. Now, therefore, it be resolved that Upper Darby Township Council hereby adopts the following subdivision and or land development escrows. 1, major land development or subdivision, $4,000. Minor subdivision or land development, $2,000. Simple residential lot line change and or 2-lot residential subdivision, $500. 4, professional township professional services review, $500. A minimum of $500 shall be charged to the escrow account to cover all township administrative fees and professional fees associated with the initial opening of the account and reviews. Thereafter, 100% of all costs authorized by the provision of the MPC and incurred for all reviews or services shall be charged to the escrow account. The deductions from the escrow account shall be the amounts charged by the professional consultants at their then current municipal rates. If the township estimates that the application is one for such costs for review or likely to exceed the escrow, the applicant may be required to pay into the escrow account in advance an amount over and above the stated escrow amounts to be sufficient to cover the expected costs. No application shall be provided prior to required escrow having been deposited. For major subdivisions or land developments, if funds of the escrow accounts are depleted to 50% or less of the original balance, the applicant shall make additional escrow deposits to cover any deficit and to reestablish escrow accounts to its original balance or greater amount as determined by the township to be reasonably necessary in order to cover anticipated remaining future expenses. Any excess fees remaining in the escrow account after the application has been withdrawn or recorded shall be refunded to the applicant without interest. If the balance of the expenses for the application for any reason exceeds the amount remaining in the escrow account, the township shall send the applicant a statement for additional costs. There's a repealer clause, a severability clause, and an effective date. And let me translate that into English a little bit. The Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, which deals with all land development in the Commonwealth, provides that townships can do this. What that does is when an applicant comes in and say it's, for example, the school district or somebody else with a major land development, you can choose to waive it or not. But any developer that comes in with a bigger land development knows what the fees are. So those fees are not charged by either me or Mr. Galante to the township. An escrow account is set up for the developer to post. We charge our rates against that escrow account, and then the amount is deducted. That's how land development is pretty much done in the Commonwealth. When we were reviewing the fee schedule of that, we realized it was not in Upper Darby's fee schedule. So the MPC requires that this be publicly adopted. So the burden of the application fees are on the developer, not on the township. If you view it burdensome, say the Sisters of the Poor charity want to come in and do an expansion, you can always kind of waive that, and so occasionally that comes before townships. But on commercial development projects, this is kind of a standard operating procedure. The numbers where we got derived from, they were Mr. Galante's recommendations, and John Walco of my office reviewed them and looked at other examples of other townships, and they were in line. So that basically explains what this resolution is.
Great, thank you, Councilman Gwynn, I see, and Councilman Barnett. Councilman Gwynn, go ahead.
I'd like to see us identify a separate area and have these checked, or the payments that come into the Upper Darby Township escrow account. And
They have to be by law. They're a separate,
check.
they have to be a separate account.
Payable under that name as opposed to Upper Darby Township.
They do. Gary and finance should take care of that. That's usually how it's done. But they, by law, they have to be separate escrow accounts. The MPC provides for that.
Okay, but it didn't state it here. That's why I felt it should state it.
No, but what it would do is in the application, it would say that on the, application. Checks should be made payable to the Upper Darby escrow account per subdivision and land development matter 2014 or whatever it is. So it's kept consistent and segregated from general funds or anything else. Again, I'm not a finance person, but that's always my understanding how it works.
Well, that's why I wanted it there. And the other thing, I know as Gary's doing it as the Vice President of Finance, he's bonded. But if we're somebody else, I just want to make sure that they're bonded as well.
Absolutely.
Councilman Barnett.
Thank you. I have a couple of points to address. Number one, I think I read here that if the funds placed in escrow are not used, they will be refunded without interest.
Yeah.
So I guess it's fair to assume that the purpose of this is to cover costs and no more or no less.
No,
and
that is exactly the purpose of it.
Okay, and which is fair enough. Is it also fair to assume that we have the right to engage outside professional services if we need to, and those costs would be billed against the escrow account to the direct cost of the township without any kind of markup?
Yeah, so say for example, like a traffic engineer or something like that, you would say on a project, yes, they could be billed against that account. Yeah.
Right, and of course, if these funds aren't sufficient, there's provisions in here
to replenish them, and we would require that.
Right.
Yes.
But in terms of billing against this escrow fund for township provided services, those that are provided in-house, how do we go about that? Do we have a wage rate that we have adopted that can be applied? Should we adopt a wage rate? So it's.
No, that's interesting. let me think about that. I'd see, most of the time I've always been solicitors and engineers deal with this. But I've never thought about township staff time, like say a zoning officer or somebody like that reviewing the application like Mr. McSween. I'll see if that's provided for under the MPC, if you could add that. But yes, the key is you have to be transparent about the wage rate. We set these fees up front. As you know, my engagement letter is public. I have a retainer, but I do have another rate of like $175 an hour, which is what would be charged against this escrow fee. I'm sure Mr. Galante has the same thing. That's usually how it works. So if I had a land development escrow and I would say I was reviewing it, there would be a separate bill just for that, and that's how it would work internally.
So you'll look into whether we.
I'll look into the staff time. Yeah, I've never seen it, but not to say it doesn't exist or the opportunity.
And oftentimes, some of these costs are often covered under permit fees.
Yes.
So I guess you have to discern the difference between whether we can charge against the escrow account for in-house services, et cetera.
Yes.
I look forward to your advice on that.
Great, good questions. Besides Councilman Gwynn, who has already spoken, are there any other council members that have any questions on this? Councilman Burke? Go ahead.
Thank you, President Wentz. Just touching base with Councilman Bonnet said. Some of the, I guess, qualifications of our workers, if they don't have the right certifications and we have to go outside for a closeout or the end of the, whether it's electrical or plumbing, or we don't have all the certification guys and girls that work for our township, and we have to pay a fee. Does that go against it? Or?
Yeah, that I've always seen that, especially on bigger commercial projects where the in-house municipality may not have the expertise. Yes, that is correct. And what would happen then is, Mr. McSween or whomever would bring that to the attention. We would bring that to the developer's attention when we get into the permits phase, and then we would ask them to add that into the escrow account. I've seen that done many times in my career.
So that would be before the permits were granted, those fees would.
Yes. So say what would happen is there was a major commercial project that was outkicked our local coverage for our expertise and our certifications. So we would contact a couple of third-party people. They would give us a guesstimate of what it would cost based on square footage to look at that building or certify that building. And then we would ask that be put into the escrow account and then withdrawn. But yeah, that would always be on the applicant. That would not be on us.
Okay, thank you.
And then I see Councilman Silva and Councilwoman Blackwell. And so Councilman Bonnet and Gwynn are on hold until others get a chance to weigh in. So Councilman Silva?
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, I just like to say.
Sorry, Silva, so go ahead.
Okay, yes. All right, I just like to say that I am in support of this ordinance. I do feel like a lot of what we've done in the last year is kind of, make sure that we've explained and put out front what fees would be and what they are and what things are expected to be paid for. And I feel like this is similarly on that vein. When there is like a big subdivision or a large planning project, that is a lot of professional time that's put towards that. And I think that this is an important move to help make sure that the township is compensated by the developers looking to make those projects happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Billups. I'm sorry, I said Blackwell when I meant Billups. I saw your hand. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Council President Wins. I just have a question. So this is not going to cost our taxpayers anything?
No, that's the purpose of it, actually.
Right, so
it doesn't cost the taxpayers. Yeah.
The question. So this is a benefit to the taxpayers. It's not going to cost them anything.
Right. And sometimes if there is, a charitable organization that council and other body, I haven't seen it here, but in other municipalities feel strongly about, they'll sometimes waive these fees and do it in kind and realize that. But the purpose of that is on commercial development. The back shouldn't be on taxpayers. It should be on the applicant, and that should be built into their project cost.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to further clarify, Councilwoman Billups, it has been costing the taxpayers money for years and years and years. So in effect, it will actually save the taxpayers money in that sense. It's sort of been a hidden cost to the taxpayers in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So is there anyone besides Councilman Gwynn or Bonnet that have something to ask about this? Seeing none, Councilman Gwynn?
I just wanted to let you know that when you do have your own people doing the work, you can develop your loaded rate. That is to say, the other fringe benefit costs that are buried, and develop a true rate out to bill the company for the services. So you're billing your portion of your health care and things like that that are applicable, converted to an hourly rate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Councilman Bonnet?
Thank you. I have, again, a couple more points. First of all, the cost in the past for land development, as far as the township and accrued costs were in fact always factored into building permits, which eventually would develop as a result of a land development. There were permitting fees necessary to implement a land development, so they were always covered. So in this case, it's often that public improvements are part of a land development, associated with a land development. Are
Yes.
these escrow funds in addition or the same?
No, they would, so the public improvements or the guarantee of those public improvements would have to be posted in a land development agreement. I always require a letter of credit for that. The Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code says you can do a bond as well, or cash. And I'm okay with cash if someone wants to put up a couple $100,000, put it in an account. I've rarely seen that. But I always demand letters of credit because bonds are very hard to act on. And in other municipalities, it's taken years to get that money, going to the Commonwealth Court and fighting. So I often say it has to be a letter of credit. Now, I've gotten to a point where the developer will come in, but in the end, they've always blinked because they wanted the project done quicker. I'll say, take me to court, I'll do the reason. So that is an addition. So as part, after there is an approval, there will be agreements done, by my office and reviewed by other professionals. And in there will require financial security for public improvements.
Yeah, and that's exactly similar how it's been done in the past. We've always, particularly for major land developments, have had a land development agreement with an escrow account associated. It may not have been a letter of credit, but there was always coverage for the public improvements. Thank you.
Okay, any other, Councilman Gwynn, you already asked you gotta consolidate your questions, man. You gotta consolidate.
I was going to ask my committee if they had anything further.
Okay, go ahead.
Is the committee okay with this resolution as it stands currently? Would you like to see it proceed?
I would.
Yeah, and with the other information, if we get it, those rates, I'll either put it back in real quickly and distribute it to all of council, or if it takes a little while, we can always do another resolution in the future, updating things. But this starts us off in a good stead.
So Matt, you're okay. Danielle and Brian?
Yes, Bob.
Danielle, you're muted.
Yes, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay, I'd like to move this resolution forward.
Great. Cool. Great. So we'll move it forward to October 14th. And then Solicitor Kilkenny will either
I'll get back to you relatively quickly. Yep.
Yep. Great. So Councilman Gwynn, please continue with your report.
I believe that's it for our resolutions.
It is. So, but continue with
Anybody
your
else have
committee
anything else
report.
they'd like to bring to the committee?
Seeing none.
Hearing none, I'd like to move it on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So up next, we have Public Health and Environmental Affairs Committee, co-chairs Councilman Silva and Tunis Jr., council members, Councilwoman Billups and Councilman Siddiq. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Council President. The Health Committee had a meeting recently where we discussed a couple items. Most notably, a resident asked about reviewing the ordinance regarding raising chickens in the township. So we are in the process of reviewing that. I don't think anything's going to move ahead anytime soon due to everything going on with the budget. Other items that were brought up in the meeting would like to consider what the cost would be and for adding fluoride to the water municipally. I know it's not something I was aware of until I became a father, but I've had other people express this concern to me as well. Our township does not add fluoride to the water. I'm sure many children in the township are getting fluoride treatments because of this, but I'm not sure all of them are. I think this would be something that we should look into. And actually, if Mr. Rangione could shed any light on that, or if he knows anything about it, I would certainly appreciate it. And then also one other item that has been an ongoing concern is dumped mattresses in the township. There has been a large quantity of them, and they're not bagged, which makes it difficult for bulk pickup. I know the township has like a protocol for dealing with unbagged mattresses, but what as per our discussion yesterday, we're considering if the township would consider purchasing bags in bulk and then providing them when bulk pickup or like at cost for residents that would need them, so we could do something about these I mean, they're difficult to remove when they're not bagged. They basically have to be sprayed down. They have to be handled with a lot of extra PPE, and it's a difficult process. We're wondering if there would be a way to either educate the township residents to use the bags, to use the bulk pickup, and then also if we could ease getting the bags for some of residents that might have a harder time with it. And then that way it would help alleviate this problem somewhat. That's all that I have from our meeting. Do any members of the committee have any items that they would like to bring up?
Councilman Tunis.
Yeah, I don't know. Do I have bad lighting? I've been raising my hand.
Yeah, I saw you.
Okay. Yeah, so just to piggyback on what Chairman Silva said regarding the mattresses, this is something we recognize with the current state we're in as a township with COVID-19 going on. A lot of tenants have been, a lot of evictions have begun, and a lot of tenants have been moving out of rental properties. I've gotten a lot of calls within my districts where tenants are just leaving, that are moving out of Upper Darby or moving out of that residence, just leaving their mattress, and it's become a dub zone. So normally we would say it's just kind of like putting a Band-Aid over something, but it's just that the current situation we're in, as a committee, we feel like this is something that may be needed, and it could be economically beneficial for the township.
I saw Councilman Siddiq and Councilman Burke. So Councilman Siddiq, go ahead.
Be part of this committee. Thank you, Matt Silva, to be a chair. This is the issue I bring it a couple weeks before. I just want to make one point here. End of the day, anyway, our township truck is picking up the mattress. without whether it is rep or non-rep. So we should think about it. What Matt Silva say, I agree with him. That's all. Thank you.
And then, I'm sorry, first, Councilman Burke, sorry.
Thank you,
Sorry.
President. If people are getting evicted, or the eviction process has been started, Councilman Tunis, I believe it's probably not the people leaving throwing the mattresses out. I'm sure it's the landlords. So I believe a lot of this will fall under property maintenance, of citing them for just throwing the stuff out on the front lawn or in the back alley.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so if it's happening in certain districts, maybe we get a hold of Chris McSween and tell him that we, some alleys or whatever, some phone calls, because we really don't want our people picking up the mattresses unless they're in the bags. And, as we said before, a couple months ago, those bags are available at Home Depot and Lowe's. But I do understand the concern for the neighborhood, the residents, and our workers. But I think we need to keep an eye on our landlords that are evicting people and just throwing everything out the back door, maybe not blaming the actual renter on hard times. So something that we need to look at.
Yeah, nah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy you brought that point up. I think that I do agree in that aspect. Essentially, just being around a lot of rental properties, like you're right, it could be on the landlord. It's ultimately his responsibility. But as just a councilman, constantly driving off Marshall, I'm just thinking to myself, what can we do more? What can we do as a committee? How can we be proactive instead of reactive? Some of these people have been living here before I was born, and they've been hearing the same things. Director McSween has been very instrumental and helpful when I reached out to him in areas of my district, but they're one department. So I do agree that they are a Home Depot and stuff, but what we kind of envision is if we need to require someone to buy a bag and they're getting it from the township, they're doing exactly what the township is asking of them. And then with that being said, them picking up that bag, they can receive literature on how to properly dispose of these items. So it could lead, we have a vision for it, but I do think you bring up some very valid points.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree actually with both of you. I mean, but at the same time too, it's a mattress. It's going to be hard to forensically determine once a mattress is on a lawn, where did it come from? I think that more what we have to do is kind of, as Councilman Tunis said, be a little more proactive. And at the same time, when we educate the renters, but I also think that definitely educating the landlords would almost actually be an easier process, right? Because there's less of them generally. So if we could let them know, hey, this, we need this to happen, so that, and I mean, I think it would be a benefit for them too. Who wants to rent a property with 10 mattresses on the lawn? So but yeah, I agree. But hopefully we can do something, because I think something needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to weigh in on this conversation? Councilwoman Blackwell?
Yes, just as a thought, and it doesn't has to be answered right now. Perhaps we can find a way to get some of the plastic so that when our trash people are going out, and if the particular property owner or resident, if we have the plastic available, they can, I don't know what the mechanism would be, but we have the plastic there with the trash folks. They can say, well, your box spring or your bed is not in the proper bag. If we have it there, and at that time, if we tell them, this is what it's going to cost to get it done or, wrapped up, that's just another thought or the way to handle it. This way we can have it there so that the people aren't saying, oh, well, we didn't know that we have to, put it in plastic, and we can have the plastic as the township available, and they may have to pay an extra couple of dollars. That's just another route to take. Just a thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not, well, it usually this would constitute a bulk pickup, which is to my understanding is done by it's
not
done with a,
not the beds. The beds aren't a bulk pickup. That's just regular trash.
The mattresses are.
Mattresses.
Mattresses are regular trash.
Yeah, I believe the mattresses are. I
It's
mean,
regular trash.
No, the mattresses are bulk.
They're bulk.
yeah, mattresses are bulk. And
So-
that's done with a pickup. It's but
Well,
yeah,
we could
So,
probably-
I'm sorry, can I just interject here? At this point in time, and maybe it's better if the Public Health Committee meets again, but we also invite CEO Rangione and the mayor to take part and LNI Chris McSween to take part so that we can have a further conversation to find the best solution to the situation and then bring it back to council at the next appropriate meeting.
yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea. Thank you, Council President.
Okay,
Sure.
great.
We're happy to invite any and all appropriate township staff.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Great. So would you like to continue with your report, Councilman Silva? And Tuna?
Absolutely. Or is there anything else that council would like to bring before to the Public Health and Environmental Committee at this time? If is there anyone, Council President?
No.
Okay,
No,
well
seeing
then,
none, sorry.
that concludes our report. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Next up, we have Law and Government Rules and Procedures Committee, co-chairs Councilwoman Billups and Councilman Silva. Members are Councilwoman Blackwell and Councilman Siddiq.
Thank you, Council President Wentz. Anyone from the committee has anything for law and government and rules and procedures? Anyone from council? Seeing none?
Seeing none.
That's it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Planning, Zoning, and Building Code Committee, co-chairs Councilman Gwynn and Billups, council members Tunis Jr. and Bonnet. Take it away.
Okay. Anybody from committee wishes to bring anything before the zoning committee? Matt?
Go ahead, Councilman Silva.
Yes, thank you, Councilman Gwynn. I'm not sure. I have a question on permitting. I have a suggestion for that. Would that be here or would that be municipal services licenses and public works?
Permitting for what?
Ask your question.
Yeah, okay. What I'd like to see is that we adopt a proposal like that when people apply for a permit for remodeling or like reconstruction, that they submit simultaneously a waste disposal plan. So that way it also help eliminate some of the dumping issues that go on. So when they come in to apply to do any kind of construction or remodeling or what have you, that they also are letting us know where the waste will go and that we have some way to follow where that waste goes, either be through even dang, I can't think of the word now, but like a fee that would be remitted to them on like showing that the proposed waste removal strategy was followed through. And I don't know if that would be this committee or municipal services licensing or public works.
I think my own personal view, it falls under L&I, as largely they're the ones responsible for its administration.
Okay.
And that would be under this committee, I believe.
Okay.
Don, do you have anything that you would like to bring before?
No, I'd be very interested to see how this proposal for trash disposal impacts the applicants. I'll remain silent until we get more information on it. But I have nothing else.
You're muted.
Councilman
No,
Tunis.
I think we should just, I think we should take a look into it. Whenever our colleagues give us things they ask for, I think it's our duty to at least look into it, see what we can do.
I personally, this is a personal thought on it. That's where we should be looking to develop our fees and what we have to take care of with those fees when we're charging things.
So it's a
My
good
view.
issue for your committee to meet and discuss, and include the mayor and CAO, and they'll include the appropriate peeps in the equation.
Well,
Eleanor,
no,
yes.
actually, it sounds like it wouldn't be for this committee. It would perhaps be for the next committee, Municipal Services, Licensing and Public Works. I mean, I thought
Okay.
that was, yeah, the
Okay.
gist of
No,
what our original
I-
conversation was.
I think that it would not be. It's under L&I, which falls under this committee.
Oh, okay. Oh, super. All right, well, good then.
Yeah,
We don't have
building
to go
code.
over this whole thing again in 10 seconds.
Right, exactly. So
All right.
the committee can meet, make a point to meet and discuss the issue.
So wait, I just
And
have a
just-
question. Sorry. So I'm sorry. So
Go ahead, Councilwoman Billups.
I'm sorry. I just want to understand what you're asking, Matt. You're asking when people do home improvements that they pay for the disposal of the trash? I'm not sure.
No, okay, so when you apply for a permit, say you're gonna remodel your kitchen. Okay, you want to remodel your kitchen, and clearly there'd be demolition involved in the remodeling of your kitchen. You're removing like parts of the old kitchen and putting in, you know, new components, flooring, wallboard, what have you. So what I would like to see is to help alleviate some of the, along where I live on Creek Road, a lot of times you'll see dumping that's just sort of the garden variety dumping, but you also see dumping of the construction variety of dumping, which is literally like, you know, tiles, shower tubs, what have you, that are literally dropped alongside Creek
Toilets.
Road sometimes. Yeah, and I'm sure that happens in other spots of the township as well. So what I would like to see to sort of alleviate that is when someone goes in to say, hey, I'd like to get a permit, I'm going to remodel my kitchen. They say, well, you know, they're asked then to submit a plan of what they plan to do with the waste. In other words, if are they going to take it to a transfer station, or are they going to, you know, rent a dumpster or what have you? And when they do, I mean, either like they might have to submit maybe like a, I mean, not an escrow isn't the proper word, but like a fee or something that will be remitted to them on when it's verified that, yes, here's the receipt for the dumpster I rented for the renovation of this kitchen, or here's the receipt for the, you know, from my transfer station or what have you. And then that would be either refunded to them or in some other, you know, some other capacity of enforcing that. But just to limit, again, you know, people dumping in places where they don't see. So it would be, again, like sort of a proactive approach to alleviate some of the dumping issues that occur in some of the, like the more vacant areas of the township.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Awesome. So do you want to continue on with your report?
Anybody else from the committee or any other member of council have anything to bring forward?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, hearing none, but I do want to make a comment. I had received drawings, which I had emailed comments to the individuals to let them be aware that I had received drawings associated with projects.
So you need to share those drawings with your co-chair, Councilwoman Billups. And if there's any way for Ellen and I to, okay, great. I just want to make sure that, because I mean, they're used to it only being one chair, and now that we have co-chairs, we need to make sure that both co-chairs get everything equally. So, great. Thank you. Cool.
Moving on.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up is Municipal Services Licensing and Public Works Committee. Co-chairs Councilman Burke and Councilman Siddiq, and members are Councilman Tunis Jr. and Councilman Wagner. Take it away.
Thank you, President Wentz. Anybody from the committee have anything to bring forward tonight?
Seeing none.
Anybody from council have anything to bring forward tonight?
See Councilman Burnett.
Good, no.
Yes, thank you, Brian. I'd like to request, we have a request to address a handicap curb on the 4700 block of Cedar Lane. I think the mayor is aware of this. I sent the name of the resident and contact information over. I asked if we could send someone out to meet with that particular resident. I've gotten a couple calls from her, and apparently this ramp was put in potentially back as far back as the 80s. We've since repaved the road. The road surface is higher than portions of the handicap curb ramp. Thus, it's retaining water puddles there. And as winter is approaching, water will freeze, effectively rendering the ramp useless. Needs to be addressed. And I just request that we send someone from the Public Works Department out to meet with the resident.
Thanks, Don. Vince, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, sure. I believe that the township engineer has already met with the resident. I know he's already evaluated the curb ramp, so we did receive the request and have already begun to take action. As the mayor was mentioning, the handicap curb ramps are now a complete part of the new paving program. And my understanding is that this intersection is sort of on a priority list for the next program. So I don't know that it would necessarily be able to get done before this winter, but it should be done in relatively short order.
Well, thank you. I didn't realize that we had a representative out there.
Sure,
Thanks.
no problem.
One question there. Was that corner of the 4700 block of Cedar just redone in the last 2 years for the blacktop? Or has it just been over years?
You know, Brian, I'm not sure exactly when it was done, but it has been, the road has been resurfaced since the ramp was put in, which was done many years ago. The ramp was put in many years ago.
Yeah, because when we had the problem beginning of the year with Turner and Marvine, we had to wait through the winter. And, finally that has been finished a couple of weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago. And we've had some rain and it's done its job. Unfortunately, we had to wait throughout the winter. And
Sure.
It's great that Mike or somebody's been out there already. So we'll follow up
Good.
on that. Thanks, Vince.
Sure, no problem.
All right, Councilman Gwynn, I see.
Yes, as I kind of mentioned earlier in talking about Sellers Avenue, one of the things that they look to do is to have somebody look at the lighting that goes on at Sellers Avenue. There are a lot of black spots, dark spots, because of lack of lighting that's hitting the area. I don't know what the requirements are, and I'd like somebody who's more knowledgeable about that to render an opinion as to where we can put lighting for these residents.
Okay, Bob, thanks.
The street lighting.
Anything else?
Good.
I'm not seeing anyone.
That concludes the report. Thank you, President Wentz.
Thank you. Next up is Leisure Services Committee, co-chairs, Councilwoman Faralia, Councilman Silva, members, Councilwoman Blackwell, Councilman Tunis Jr.
Does anybody have anything to bring forward to Leisure Services? Anybody on council?
Councilman Gwynn, I see, and Councilwoman Billups, or Blackwell, and Councilman Tunis Jr. So.
Okay.
Gwynn?
Just like to make some general comments. I had the privilege of listening in to Leisure Service Group, the trails that were taking place and their layout and design and what they hope to accomplish with these trails and bike routes. I think that they are something that can add to the township in terms of improving the life and entertainment in the township and our parks.
Okay. So the next one you had was Blackwell?
Yes. Did you want me to provide a report?
You're muted.
There we go. Is it better now? Okay.
Yeah.
Did you want me to provide a report on the Fernwood Playground and the Oxford Playground?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so, so council, so I, Tunis and Farragut, we met on Thursday, September the
Ralia,
Thank you, Laura.
Aurelia.
Ralia.
Thank you. All right. So
It's
we
an
met
Irish
at
name.
Pardon?
Go ahead.
So we met at
Yeah.
the Upper Darby Township Municipal Building, and we drove down to physically review the conditions of 2 recreation park sites. And so for the Fernwood Playground, lighting was needed, mobile parks was necessary, benches needed to be upgraded, and we were trying to figure out whose property was adjacent, which needs immediate grass cutting. Also at the Oxford Playground, blacktop was needed, lots of tender care, a new gate or fence was necessary, lighting was needed, and trees needed to be cut. So we did that.
I think that was SEPTA's property.
It was SEPTA's property? Okay,
It was SEPTA's property.
all right. So
All right.
that's my report to be included.
Thank you.
Well, our report, excuse me.
Can you send me that report if you haven't already, so that we can add it to the minutes?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything to bring forward? And that concludes my report.
Okay, next up, event planning committee co-chairs, Councilwoman Billups.
My hand was up and I was like,
Oh, I'm sorry.
like you said,
I'm sorry.
you said I was going to speak
Tunis,
after her.
I did say
Okay.
you, and I'm sorry, that was my bad. Councilman Tunis.
All right, it's
My bad.
fine.
No, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
just wanted to speak about just kind of piggybacking off what Danielle said. It was in my district. We visited the 7-6. Chairwoman Feralia and Councilwoman Blackwell and I went out. The residents in that area have been asking us to check it out. I just wanted to make sure that they understood that their council person as well as members of the committee were present. We're going to look at more other parks. If you feel there's a park in your district that you want us to like look into or look out, just let us know. Chairwoman Feralia was really open into doing those type of things. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Councilman Tunis. Didn't mean to miss you. Okay, so next up is the event planning committee. Councilman Billups or Blackwell, take it away.
So the events committee had a meeting last week, I'm sorry. And after the public safety committee met with the fire department, they were concerned about the lack of diversity in the different departments. So we met and we discussed about having a virtual job fair. So we are working on that. We want to showcase what Upper Darby has to offer and what the county has to offer. So Councilman Tunis, Councilman Silva, and Councilwoman Blackwell, we are working on that. We hope to have it by our next council meeting in November. Am I correct, Matt? Councilman Matt Silva?
Yes, that's correct. Mhm.
Yeah, November 15th was the proposed date. It is a little weird because it will be virtual, but we have a member of the township who is pretty savvy with that stuff. Miss Jess Brandis, she's helping us with putting this together. So we're really looking forward to if there are any private companies that would like to take part in the job fair, that we would certainly the more the merrier. And I think it's primarily going to, as you say, focus on governmental jobs at this time, just because and also the volunteer fire department, it'll let people know more about it if they'd like to get involved.
What was the date?
It's proposed November 15th, I believe. Yeah, it would be a Saturday.
Yeah.
And where is that taking place?
It's
The
virtual.
14th.
Virtual?
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry, the 14th.
No, you
And
can,
it's virtual?
yes.
Yes.
So we'll have the link ready for everyone. We're just working on all the details, and we'll have the link ready and we'll put it out to everyone. Yes, Councilwoman Blackwell.
So did someone want to mention about the police procedure and the civil service test that prompt this with with also the fire department needing volunteers to come and participate?
Yeah, we did bring that up at the meeting, and I think we were a little confused about, I mean, we did rule on it, and I guess it was our kind of, but yeah, due to the Act 120 requirement, it's going to be, I mean, we could still let people know about it, but I think it's not going to have quite the same effect because of the Act 120 requirement at this time. But we could certainly, we were planning on promoting people taking that exam as well, because it would happen before the job fair. But at the same time too, I don't know, it probably still would be worthwhile to include that portion. Yeah, to mention it.
Yeah. So I think it was proposed, Councilman Silva, the 21st. That's what you said. That was the date.
Silva, you have to unmute yourself.
You know what? I don't have my notes in front of me, but yeah, the 21st would be a good date as well.
The 21st.
Yeah, I just want yeah, we kind of messed up some dates, but we originally did propose it for November 21st.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. We got it together.
So, sorry about that. We mixed up the date, but it is proposed for the 21st.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 21st of November. Okay.
Yep.
My apologies.
All right. No, that's okay. I'm sorry I got mixed up there.
Okay, it's okay. So does anyone else from the events committee have anything else?
Seeing none.
Anyone from council?
Seeing none.
Seeing none. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Great. So next up, we have solicitors. Do you have an update for us? And you need to unmute your mic.
Obviously, we have been hard at work as evidenced by several resolutions and that we provided here tonight. We continue to work with Mr. Rangione and staff on almost a daily basis, as along with council on everything from right to know requests to litigation matters. And that really concludes my report, subject to any of council's questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions for solicitors? Seeing none, moving on to old business. Does anyone from council have any old business to bring forward? Councilwoman Faralia?
Yeah, I do. I wanted to know if I can get an update on the St. Eugene's property.
Sister Kilkenny?
Sure. I emailed John McBlain maybe about 2 weeks ago. I'll email him again. He said that he had no update.
Okay. Is it, I'm hearing that we are not purchasing the property from Oak and Bunting. We're only purchasing the back property now. Is that true?
I don't know. That was one of the, I mean, we discussed this in executive session a couple of weeks back. and it's probably more appropriate for that, but that was one of the parameters thrown out, but no decisions have been made. We were waiting for Mr. McBlain to get back to us and arrange for an on-site review of the property. And my understanding is the pastor, Monsignor Priest, I forget the reference, was okay with it, but he was bringing it to parish council. And that's what Mr. McBlain told me last in an email about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. All right, that's it.
Okay, and Councilman Barnett.
Thank you. I've been, as I mentioned at a previous meeting, I've been working with Councilwoman Feralia and members of the parish, Father McDermott in specific, the pastor. I think there's just a little bit of confusion around this. I think you, Mr. Kilkenny, I think you're correct. I think there is a need for the pastor to speak with the parish council on this. I think what they're waiting to learn is what in fact is the position of the township with regard to purchasing both fields, the Bunning Lane field and the higher field up by the Primus School. If light can be shed on that, I think that would be helpful in moving this.
No, it was, Mr. McBlain's well aware of it. I had a conversation with him and it was placed in our letter. It was approved by the administration. Administration is definitely interested in the one parcel. There were
which one?
The back parcel.
The one by the school, I suppose, right?
And as far as the other parcel goes, we asked for an on-site review of it and discussion. Mr. McBlain said he thought that was a good idea. But I just checked. I sent him an email. He responded on 9/21, and I'll send him another one again entitled St. Eugene's. I've not heard anything since our last conversation, Sean. I'm going to try to nudge the pastor a bit. I will send him another email right now.
Is it fair, therefore, to assume that both fields are still in play here, no pun intended, in terms of being purchased by the township?
The correspondence that we sent didn't rule that out. No, not at all.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Anyone else have old business? Okay, seeing none. Any new business? I see Councilman Tunis. Go ahead.
This Monday on Indigenous People Day, Monday, October 12th, I'll be doing a community cleanup. A couple months ago, a constituent reached out to the mayor's office in the sections of Gilpin, Lamport, and Springton Road. They wanted to do a community cleanup. Mayor Keffer put them in contact with me, and they decided that they wanted to do it on this upcoming Monday. I did send a flyer to council at large members. If any of the neighboring districts or any of the other district council members would like to see this flyer, I would also send this to you. Just Monday from 10 to noon, it's a community cleanup. The residents asked for it, and we're just trying to give them what they asked for. So if you guys need the flyer, you can just message me privately and I'll get that information to you.
Thank you. Any other council member with new business? Okay, seeing none. Then can we get a motion to adjourn at 9:08?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, Councilman Quinn and Councilwoman Phillips, I'm seeing, or Blackwell, sorry, my brain's frying, but I do see Phillips.
Yeah, I second it, yeah.
Okay, it was like a tie. Okay, all those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say your name. Ayes have it. Have a great night. Thank